Give him
Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
Sorry. All right, good afternoon. I'd like to call the Missouri Western State University Board of Governors meeting to order. First of all, great crowd here today. Thank you all for coming. This is wonderful. The first item of business is to approve the meeting agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the Board of Governors meeting agenda as presented? Have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the June 26th, 2025 board meeting minutes?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion carries. Now moving into the substantive portion of our meeting, we will now hear the Personnel, Finance, and Operations Committee report. Would invite Vice President Daniel Holt to the podium.
Okay, well, good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. It's great to see this crowd in the start of the semester. We had a great conversation this morning at the Finance Committee. These just summary of the topics covered. We talked in depth about the unaudited fiscal year 2025 position through June 30. Our audit is still underway. We're in the process of updating some last minute entries, journal entries, and things like that. Our field work will start the week after next, and so we are making progress there. But this is the information today is unaudited. We'll spend a little bit of time looking at the revenue for FY26. As I mentioned this morning, expenses in 1 month are a little bit weird to look at because a lot of things have not yet occurred in July, and so we'll focus only on the revenue for this afternoon. And then there is an item for the board to approve, which is a water easement on campus, and then we'll look at some compensation work that we have to do this year per our 21-22 compensation plan that is coming to an end. And so, as I did this morning, I'm going to start with the end in mind because I think it helps set the stage for the conversation and the information that you'll see to follow. And so, we are going to where we go there. We had tuition and fees of $30,871,221, which is 97.8%. It's a $1.4 million increase, and we'll see that here in just a moment. With total revenues at $46,150,855. And so because of we are short of revenues on this year, and we'll see here in a moment, we had higher expenses than what we anticipated. We do have an increase of our deficit position, but there are a lot of good things that we have done this year that we feel confident about going forward. And so one of those things I want to just touch on is that we improved our revenue. We thought we were going to miss by about 4 points as of April, and we increased that by 2.2 to be a 2-point difference as of June 30 because of summer enrollment. We had a miss on our revenues for federal and state grants, which are primarily MOOC sales and ARPA projects. So those revenues will come in this fiscal year. So it'll just change fiscal years. And then housing revenue and first food service also missed by small amounts of $4,381,573 for housing. That's due to having only 514 beds occupied as opposed to 551 last year. Again, this is driven mostly by enrollment, but as we've dug into this number a little bit with our enrollment trends, we're seeing a demand for housing decrease over time simply because we're doing a better job of recruiting locally. So Buchanan County, our service region, we're seeing improvements in our enrollment there, which by nature, those students have a higher demand to commute to campus. Food service did catch up a little bit over the summer. We had an interesting year last year where we had equipment failures and things like that. So we had to, we had less commissions coming in from catering events and things like that. And so Food service is at $3,067,839. And then again, if we were to exclude our state grants, revenues of 42,106,361 would have missed our revised budget by about $814,000. If we were to look at our original budget, so less the adjustments that you see on the screen, the original budget, less state grants and federal grants were 42,450,889. So we missed our April target, April of 2024 target by about 344,000 or 0.8%. So we did a pretty good job in terms of budgeting out the revenues. We did have some misses, but to land last April, but to miss by less than a point is good work for our team to think about where we're going. And now the foundation that Andy Otto and the enrollment team is doing, we feel much more confident about our ability to project out our revenue moving forward. Switch. Oh, sorry. And then on the budget to actual expense, it stands off, it jumps out right away in terms of where we're at. The salary and compensation, sorry, my slides are not following right here, 28,194,173 is 102.4% to budget. So we exceeded our compensation. This is primarily due to two reasons. One, we have had compensation increases of 1% going forward, but the biggest culprit of our missing on the budget is that we plan for vacancies throughout the year. Over the last prior two fiscal years, we've had turnover of about 25% of our workforce. And so we build those into the budget. This past year, we just did a better job of retaining our employees. And so that really built in or factored into it, as well as the compensation adjustments that we've had over the last couple of years. It just cumulated up where we saw a significant impact and increase over prior year. And so we did exceed our salary and compensation item in fringe, which is, if you've heard me talk about in the last year, has continuously been higher than what we would anticipate. It ended up at 11,798,829 or 111% to budget. And there are two primary culprits here. And one is our medical premiums. We had a 13% increase in our medical premiums for calendar year 2025. That was in total is about $500,000 of increase. About 70%, 60 to 70% of that was to the university. We also saw our Moser's pension increase. So the contributions went from 30.2 or are going to 30.25 and to 32% for this coming year. And so we expect that number to continually move over. We're at a 42%, if we did that calculation, we're at a 42% fringe rate for this past year. And we are anticipating a 44% fringe rate for this upcoming fiscal year. So medical claims were extremely high. In fiscal year 25, we had our three highest medical claims that we've ever had. June was 70% larger than it was at the same point in time last year. And so we saw a significant increase in terms of our cost on the fringe side over the course of the year compared to where we had budgeted out. Once we get past salaries and our people costs, which account for about 52% of our budget, our team did a good job. The campus did a good job of controlling the expenses that it can control. Supplies and services were under budget. Travel was under budget. Utilities and insurance all under budget. The last remaining item there that was slightly over was our scholarship. It's $360,000 of difference, but the significant contribution there is $300,000 of that was the federal Pell and supplemental grants. And so that means our students receive more aid. It shows up on our non-operating revenues here in a couple slides. So it's not a bad thing for that number to be where it is. In total, it's about $60,000 higher than what we had budgeted. The ending result is operating expenses at $77,124,057. If we look at last year, and I want to spend some time here because there's a lot to unpack in terms of our compensation changes. So again, as I mentioned, we've had 1% increases to base salary the last couple of years. Our 21-22 compensation plan had us going to a 1.5 to 3% range in this fiscal year. But in April, if you remember, we put forward a 1% increase because we saw some of these spikes happening. We knew what was happening for our medical claims. We knew what was coming down the pipe from our Moser's program contributions. And so we saw some of the writing on the wall that we weren't going to have the funds to cover that extended amount. So a 0.5% difference, it's about $115,000 to salary because of a 42% fringe rate. That's another $35,000. So it's about $150,000 for that 0.5 adjustment to compensation. So that's why we brought forward keeping it at a 1% for the third consecutive year in April. Just to kind of dig in a little bit deeper, as I mentioned, we've had some turnover. Using my areas, the finance and administration area as an example, as being one that contributed to that increase in compensation year over year. About $350,000 of this increase is caused by our intentional effort for a physical plan, strategic hiring plan. And so we were intentional about increasing our custodial crew to be above the minimum wage. We had trades that the positions had been posted for several years, and we wanted to fill those positions with qualified people. And so we increased what we were offering to get those positions in. So the good side of it is that we were successful in that work. But what's kind of hidden here is that, especially from the custodial standpoint, while we saw an increase in the compensation, they were already on our campus. We participated in a contract with a local vendor who provides us with custodial help when we need it. And so that was just in the supplies and services line item. We've just moved it over to the salaries line item. And total physical plant makes up a significant part of what my division's contributions had an impact to that increase year over year on salary. A little bit lesser extent, but a factor for us as well is that we put a greater emphasis on our infrastructure and engineering. So the IT part of what we're doing, we had a retirement end of calendar year 2023. That position was open for most of 24. We filled it in the fall, and obviously that salary then contributed to that increase as well. And so some of this is the balancing of what was vacant in one year versus what got filled in the following. But just to give an example, there are other areas that do that, not just mine. Obviously, our advancement team is a little bit larger than it was. Most of those salaries are paid for by foundation, so we would see an offset on our non-operating revenue. Enrollment, oddly enough, was lower in FY25 than it had been each of the last 2 years. That's something we've obviously hit head on because that's our revenue generation that we need to invest in that to get more students here. Student affairs, I believe, was about $10,000 higher, but it's only changed about $30,000 over the course of 3 years. And so there's been very small fluctuations on the staff side in those various areas. Other large contributors, in addition to mine, were athletics. As we've had coaching turnovers, we've sought to be more competitive. We've seen increases there. And then on the academic affairs side, we've seen increases in whether it be a faculty member needed for accreditation purposes or filling other needs within the departments. We've had some turnover at the level of dean, vice provost, and things like that. So these toggles from year to year are what's contributed to the significant increase of $1.4 million on the salaries and compensation. And so it's not any one thing. There's a lot of variables that go into that. On the fringe side, again, I touched on this just a moment. It's the university couldn't absorb all of it, so we saw a lot of increases due to the medical claims. I mentioned how we had the significant increase in calendar year 2025. Supplies and services, the increase there of $1.3 million. That's heavily on our ARPA and Mo sales projects as we've changed our capital assets policy. Some of the information that would go to as a capital expense on our non-operating side is now a fixed an FF&E or supplies and services. So it's just moving from one part of the statement to another. But we've also seen escalators of 5 to 7% on a lot of our contracts, and as high as 9% going into fiscal year 26. And so that's a number that we'll continue to keep an eye on. Utilities were higher, but still favorable. Scholarship, I mentioned that kind of nuance, but the other part to this is that as our costs change, so does some of our scholarships. So for example, our Griffin rate waiver, it takes the price of our out-of-state tuition students down to the in-state tuition rate. That difference is a scholarship. So as our tuition goes up, so does that scholarship. So that creates some causal relationship here in terms of what we're seeing from a scholarship increase. After seeing that information regarding the expenses around personnel, one of the common questions I get is, are we hiring too much? And so you can kind of see on the right a little bit, we had 410 employees on July 1 and January 1. So for the most part, We held relatively flat this year. In comparison, we were at 384 to 382 students on January 1, July 1 last in calendar year 2024. The year prior, we were at 403. And so for the most part, we're pretty similar to what we were in 2023. So not a lot of change. As I mentioned, on the left-hand side, the green line is our non-exempt personnel. You see it spiking, and it's significantly because of what I shared around our custodial crew. We took them out of our contract, moved them into, we held those positions in terms of full-time because we paid better, so they stayed with us as opposed to leaving. And so we saw an increase in what our non-exempt headcount was this past year. But beyond that, things are relatively flat. You can't really see it in the bottom left-hand corner. There's a blue line that is our, the executive team, the deans and AVPs, the orange. For the most part, that's been relatively flat. It toggles about one employee, each one does over the last 5 years. So not a lot of change there. But you can kind of see the relationship there that we had with our staffing over the last several years. On the non-operating side, things look pretty much how we would have anticipated. So 23,671,842 on our core appropriations and state appropriations, lottery at 2,322,000. That's been what it has been for the last several years. The grants is where you will find the increase from the federal Pell Grants, the supplemental grants that show up in our scholarship line item on the expense side. Gifts are primarily the foundation, Holney Center activities, the match for our Mo Excels, those kind of things. Investment income from the cash sweep that we have whenever we invest in treasuries to increase our interest. Capital is at 4,597,833. That'll increase as we collect the remaining ARPA and Mo Excels dollars in this fiscal year. So it basically moves from one year to the next. And then you'll see the $3,095,775 of debt service principal that is a little bit higher, and that is due to the university adding a enterprise lease, fleet lease for our physical plant vehicles. We had several vehicles go out of commission last year. Rather than having one large capital line item to replace them, we did a lease. We'll have to do the same thing because we have another 4 vehicles that are out of commission right now. And so we'll see that number move a little bit into fiscal year 2026 as well. The end result, as you can see at the bottom, 2,606,871 deficit when we had planned on it being at around 900, a little less than a million, about 980,000. Non-operating, just comparing it to prior year, not a lot that you can see here that would be different. Core appropriations, we are anticipating that to be about half. It was a 757,000 increase in FY25, and there's only at 3%. FY26 is at 1.5%. So we're expecting it to be about half this year as of the governor's budget in June of 2025. But for the most part, everything is here is what we would have anticipated seeing moving forward. And again, as I mentioned, 2,603,871 is our ending year position, negative 2 million, not where we thought we would be. But again, we had missed revenue expectations from enrollment, and then we had higher than normal people costs because we retained our people this year. From a cash position, this information is in board effect as well. Total cash on June 30 was 8,653,346, down from 10,523 in the year prior, and $11 million the year before that. Cash moves very quickly at the end of the year. Last year, there was a lot of ARPA reimbursements due to the Holney Center, so that contributed. We have about $560,000 of cash to receive for ARPA this year. On the investments in board effect, and I mentioned just briefly ago regarding the interest, we had $5 million that we invested in T-bills in February that matured on June 6th. We moved those dollars over because we had cash that we didn't anticipate needing until the end of June. By moving them out of our 3% cash sweep into a 4% treasury, it earned us an additional $15,000 or so in interest had we kept it where it was. As of July, this looks a little more dire than what it is, but our cash had dropped to right around $5.1 million, but just a few days later is back up to $7.1 million. And so we see a little, again, at this time of year, we see a lot of cash movement just depending on when things get paid at the end of the month. And that is traditionally how we operate, as most of our contracts and large payments are from due in either July or due in January. And so once we get past those 2 big months, most of what we see is going to be on the compensation side with payroll. And then jumping ahead to FY26, just to kind of give an idea of where we're at. Again, we don't look at the expenses because July is so inconsistent, but we went up $1.4 million in tuition and fees last year. We're already up $228,000 this year. So we continue to see an increase. Enrollment is relatively flat. I think there's a 2-student difference from last year to this year. But we are seeing that increase primarily due to the tuition rate increases that we put forth in April. The concerning point at this time is our housing and food service revenue. As I mentioned, we have a less demand for housing than what we have in the years past. We're down $400,000 year over year and almost $300,000 in food service. We've got some ideas of how we can move that revenue up for our food service, but it won't be significant enough in this fiscal year. So that'll be something that we continue to watch. Obviously, the things that we can influence right now is how do we get higher student satisfaction and thus retention rates going into the spring semester and improve our second semester retention. That'll influence our revenues. New student enrollment in January will influence that. And then seeing what we saw this past summer with increased credit hour production in the summer, that also will increase our revenue position for FY26. And so good news is we're seeing greater revenue coming from tuition and fees the last couple of years. That trend is continuing up. It's just, can we increase it at a rate that surpasses the reduction in demand in terms of housing occupancy? One benchmark that I like to look at every fall is that a good measurement is you need to be at about 52% of your budgeted tuition and fees for the year, because you are typically smaller in the spring than what you are in the fall semester. So you need to be above that 50% mark. We're currently at 52.3%. So again, that gives us some confidence that right now our tuition and fees is going on a trajectory that will hit our budget line item. And again, we won't run into or experience the missed expectations in fiscal year 26 like what we had in 25. So just to hit the high notes here, what we're seeing. FY25 tuition fees up $1.4 million over last year. Revenue excluding federal and state grants, we're up 3.1% over FY24. So again, everything is going up. Tuition and fees are up another $200,000 this year. And at that 52% mark that I mentioned, that is critical. The downside is that our expenses were over budget in FY25. Supplies, services, utilities, insurance, and travel were all good. They were under budget. Scholarship, there's a nuance with it, but our people expenses are extremely high right now. Some of it is out of our control. When we think about the Mosers program, it increased over the last 5 years. Since FY21, we have 105 fewer employees, and our Mosers contributions $1.2 million more. So having 100 less people and spending $1 million more is a difficult thing to combat. In July, we talked about this a little bit at our June meeting. We did not have it official, but in July, we met with S&P for our bond rating. They affirmed us at BBB stable. They look at that and from our FY24 audited financial statements. This work actually started earlier in the spring, and we just got the results in July. Their cited concern was our enrollment trends. They want to see us that trend line going back the other direction. This fall will be a good response to them next year. That were 2 students different as of yesterday. Or Monday. And then the one thing that they cited as a continued concern, or the concern was enrollment. The thing that they cited as an improvement that's keeping us stable and not a downgrade is our finances. And so they like the fact that our FY24 finances were improving. They like that we have relatively low debt for a regional institution. Our debt matures in a relatively short amount of time in 2035. The most of it is maturing. And so those are factors that kept them affirming the stable rate as opposed to a downgrade. Pivoting now from the finances side of the house, we do have an action item that we'll ask the governors to approve later here this afternoon. Missouri American Water has requested to use Missouri Western property for a new water line that will cross from the west side of I-29 underneath the interstate using the railway line where a lot of other utility easements are at, go beneath McCarthy Drive, and then south to the conservation area. And so the easement plat is provided in board effect. The committee approved it this morning, and we'll be bringing that forward to governors this afternoon. Some other informational items just to make keep us aware, governors aware. We are engaging with Barnes & Noble regarding their first day complete program. This will be a change in how our students acquire their books. It will be at one flat rate of $24 per credit hour. It is an opt-out program, so students can opt out of it if they'd rather not do that. Barnes & Noble says that about 80% of the students do opt in. And so it will provide a reduced expense for students. It should have a positive impact to the commissions of the university because more students will get their books through Barnes & Noble. So we see this as being a win-win for both students and the university. We're excited to move it forward. We're hoping to have it launched in January, but just due to administrative reasons, we'd have to make sure that we can get it done and launched over the next several months. But we're excited about this from registrar, financial aid, student accounts, academic side. Everybody has voiced positive comments about us moving to this plan for our students. The Law Enforcement Academy is preparing to move from a per credit hour charge to a flat program fee of $7,176. That is the same price that the students pay. It's just done on a per credit hour. This is something that they have requested, and for the administrative side of the house, it makes complete sense because that program doesn't really operate on a per credit hour basis. It's more of a clock hour basis, so it's really cleaning things up. Again, no change in the revenues. We don't have a motion to provide to the governors today because we're still compiling all the information. But when we look at the comparables of other institutions, we feel like this is the right move. Most other programs are doing it the same way, and our price point is lower than them as well. And so we feel good about this move. We will hopefully either bring it back in an electronic vote or at the November meeting. A couple other informational items. The university will be purchasing and installing a new boiler for this facility. It is failing at the moment. It continually declined since last year. The boiler does provide both hot water and heat to this building. It has a 4-week project timeline, and it has that be without water for 1 week, which means we have to be very timely when we do this. We're eyeing fall break right now. It will mean that we have to have staff on site in the evening and night to make sure that it doesn't turn off, and so that we can make sure that we're keeping the hot water hot throughout the evening hours and night hours. It does have a cost of about $300,000. We've identified a significant chunk of the capital resources. We think we will get there. The downside to us being able to get there in an easy way is that will really prohibit us from doing other capital projects throughout the course of the year when things actually happen. So as an example, last year we had a fire in Scanlon Hall. That was about $150,000 cost. That would be difficult for us to remedy after we move forward with the boiler. The year prior, we had an elevator in Leverton Hall that was taking in water and sinking, so we had to fix it as well. So those were $150,000 projects that we would be very hampered to do this year should we need it because of the resource allocation. And then the last item to touch on as a follow-up for the compensation or this morning's committee meeting, the 21-22 compensation plan. The board approved it in May 12th of 2022. You can see on the slide there that it had 4 years of recommendations put forward on a funds availability basis. Years 1, 2, and 3, we proceeded with. Year 4, we had a 1% increase. As I mentioned before, we did not get to 1.5 for the reasons stated of funds available. We're very limited back in April and continue to be that way. But for year 5 is the work that we are doing now. And so it called for a new market analysis and adjustment for next fiscal year. So as we look forward to the FY27 budget in April, the compensation committee, whose first meeting I think is on the 8th of September, so not this coming week, but the following, will review Coupa HR data on demand. We've acquired that information, so we'll be able to compare our salaries compared to other universities that provided information to their survey. We'll be able to look at it by position. We're going to compare it to the various institutions in the Midwest region, to Kofi institutions here in Missouri, and then do a radius of the Kansas City metropolitan area, because we find that we're losing faculty and staff to regional institutions. So we want to know how we compare to this area. So the goal of the committee will be to have recommendations made by March 26th, and then approval to the board at the April meeting within our FY27 budget preparation. So that is the extent of my summary for this morning's committee meeting. Happy to take any questions from the governors.
Hearing no questions, we have two recommendations coming from the Personnel, Finance, and Operations Committee. Do I have a motion to approve the June 30, 2025 financial report as presented and recommended by the committee?
So moved.
Second? Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve the granting of the easement for Missouri American Water as presented. Second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next up, we will hear division reports from the vice presidents and directors. First up, Academic Affairs by Dr. Jay Johnson.
Well, hello again, and hello to the crowd. Very happy to see all the academic affairs people, the faculty. This is fantastic. Thank you for coming. I want to talk a little bit about some things going on in academic affairs. First, we had some personnel changes. First of all, Michael Charlton and Tilo Roy, they're in here. Yeah, they were interim vice provost. Since vice provost was mentioned in the last session, I want to make sure you know they're no longer interims. So we now have full-time vice provost. So very happy to have that change. Second, we welcomed a new executive director for academic partnerships to us over the summer. Articulation agreements, ECA, all these things are very, very important to us. So Lara Gilpin? Yeah. So Dr. Gilpin came to us from St. Joe School District. She just retired from the St. Joe School District. We're very happy to have her here. Like I said, she's going to head up a lot of our articulation agreements that we have, manage ECA and the very difficult staff we have in ECA. No, they're fantastic. And also looking at how we schedule and, maintain opportunities for student success. So speaking of articulations, we're still very, very hard at work getting these things put together. We, of course, have the articulation agreement with NCMC, Hilliard here in town, but we're also working on several others. Recently, we've secured with Metropolitan Community College in Kansas City. We're working on a signing with them, Moberly Area Community College, State Fair Community College, and we're working with some other community colleges to try to get partnerships with them lined up. One other thing, we're working, as you may have heard in the news, there's a new Northland Career Center being built down in Kansas City. It's a $74 million, 140,000 square foot career center they're building now. There's significant development from Northland in Kansas City. We're working on that as well. Let me pull this back up. Okay. Talk about a couple things we did over the summer. We had a chairs retreat on July 18th, where we had all the academic chairs, the deans, directors, all the leaders in academic affairs came down to empower you. We had a full day of merriment and hilarity. It was a fantastic day. We talked about a number of things about where we're really trying to go with academic affairs. And I made it very clear this year is a transformational year where we're focusing on enrollment. So everybody is up to the challenge. They're showing up here. They are committed. They are really working on how we can improve student success, improve retention, graduation rate, enrollment, and just generally our culture. So very excited about how that's going. Another thing we did over the summer, another thing we just did that was over the summer technically, but as last week was our plan week. So we had a very good plan week. So I want to recognize Monty and Michael and Tilo. They did a fantastic job putting that thing together where we had all sorts of sessions about just various topics around campus. And the faculty were very engaged, had a great showing of convocation, new student convocation on Thursday. So I think everybody's pretty well ready to start the year. Final thing I want to mention, that our faculty are very engaged in scholarship as well. So we have a journal of applied learning and higher education. This last year we had 10 submissions. That is the most we've ever had. And so those are our refereed submissions that will be a part of our journal of Journal of Applied Learning and Higher Education. So our faculty are very engaged. So I will be happy to take any questions. All right. Have a good day.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Johnson. Next up, we will have the update on the Center for Workforce Development from Ms. Rebecca Lavina, Director. Workforce Development. Welcome.
Thank you. I got some slides here for you. Yeah. All right. So I'm excited to tell you about what's been going on with workforce development. First, of course, I started April 1st, and the first thing I did was talk with the donors in the Honey Center for Convergent Technology. And then I went and talked with faculty and staff, the businesses in the area, in the region, actually, and other relevant organizations and funding partners. And what I mean when I say funding partners is those entities like the ones you see down at the bottom, Youth Alliance, GAM, Great Jobs Safety, Community Action Partnership. They all hold funds where they are third party to us, but they actually provide funds for training individuals in the workforce. And so partnering with them to let them know that we have or are going to have programming, and so there was a reason to meet with them. It turns out that most people don't pay for their own professional development. Go figure. You probably don't either. Your companies probably pay for it or some other entity like that. So, all right. This is not all inclusive. We have met with probably about 50 different organizations in the region in the last 5 months. And by we, I mean the team of people that I have been working with. I've been working with Kristen Neely out of Career Services, and Mark is here, I saw there, out of the foundation, and definitely couldn't do anything without Roberta and Evanelli out of the Honey Center. So really appreciate their help. Tilo, Michael, Jay, Daniel, so many people are helping with workforce development. It's really wonderful. But also, in order for us to provide programming, since we didn't have workforce development before, really, I had to put in place some policies and procedures and, like onboarding part-time workforce development instructors and the procedures within that policy, and onboarding workforce development students and the procedures within that policy. All right, but once we got all of that taken care of, and we listened to everyone, then we were able to strategically create programming based upon what the region was telling us that they wanted. So some recurring training programs we have offered is our CNC machining and milling class. It was 8 weeks long. That first cohort has finished. What we found out from it is that we put too much content in too little time. So when we offer it again, same content, basically, just a lot longer time for them to complete it and really get enough hands-on learning. And then our leadership series, which was a 5-part series, just finished that up yesterday. We've already had calls saying, we're sorry we missed it. We couldn't send people during that time. Are you going to offer it again? The answer is yes. All right. We also offered some one-time workshops. The reason we did this was really just PR. When I first started, it's like, hey, we're going to offer workforce development training. So we have to get the word out, right? So it's like, here, let's offer this one little 1 hour workshop or this workshop or something that is interesting to the people that we know. And so some of them made and some of them didn't, and that's okay. We didn't outlay any money paid for paid advertising or for people or contracts. So we weren't out anything if they didn't make. And, you know, so that's okay. But the ones that did make, that was great. And so what this really comes down to is the number of people that we've trained to date, as well as the amount of money that we brought in. And so this number actually changed as of this morning. So this was put together yesterday, actually, and it changed today. So we now have 57 people trained and 33,000 because the contract was signed with Triumph Foods, who had additional people to go through some training, and that was $9,000 more. So ongoing, we have some nationally recognized certifications that are available. You'll notice it is not all about manufacturing because the region is full of other people besides manufacturers. No offense, Bill, or no offense to anyone in the room. But we do have manufacturing stuff too. And online, we have some asynchronous stuff where they have access to the curriculum online, but then they come in. We have scheduled times where they come in and they practice hands-on utilizing the trainers, which is the equipment inside the Holney Center. And that is actually what Triumph signed up for, is this asynchronous training. All right, some recurring training programs. I already mentioned the CNC. Our second cohort is scheduled to start, I think, at the end of September. As soon as we get 5 people registered, we will start our first home health aid cohort. Our first CPT, which is certified production technician, is scheduled for November at this point. I mentioned our leadership series. We're going to repeat that in late spring. We don't have a definite date yet. And pediatric first aid and CPR was asked for by the child care workers and the United Way. Specifically because they have a lot of turnover, and within the first month they have to get their CPR training, and they would prefer to have it all hands-on. A lot of training nowadays with that is actually the curriculum is online, and then you come in for the hands-on part. They would like it all wrapped up in one day and all in person, and that's what we're going to do. All right, in the works, we have professional etiquette series. This is made for industry, but it's going to be recorded so that it can be utilized by all of the students and employees as well, if they want to utilize it. But for all of the students, Kristen Neely is working on putting together like a library database of stuff, and this will end up in that library for students so that they can see it anytime they want and utilize it. It'll be great for when they go out on interviews, luncheons, things like that. And Behringer, this is big news. Been working with them for a couple of months now on a customized training program. This is just for them. This is not for anyone else. And they are going to put 70 folks through it beginning in January. And we've talked it through, and they are, the MOU is still in process, but they're going to put 70 people through it. They've given me the outline of what they want to have in the training, and it will get us, they're paying $105,000 for that training in January. So that should help a little bit, Daniel. Just Purina Foundation came and toured the Holney Center. They were very impressed with it. And so they said, we have a grant that's coming up. You have to apply. Of course, they're like, you know, it's only open for 2 more weeks. And they just told us about it. And we're like, great. So they said, apply, wink, wink. And so we did. And we'll find out in November if we get that $50,000. If we do, it will go towards biomanufacturing, a biomanufacturing training certificate for folks who are on the production line floors. So we know we already have biomanufacturing as an emphasis as a degree program, but this would be for like their frontline production people. All right, and last but not least, Nucor has asked us to come up and do some customized training for them. This number is not included in the numbers before because it's not signed, so I'm not counting it yet, but it's in the works. Questions?
You want everyone to take a picture of your QR code?
I would love for you to go to the QR code. That takes you to the Workforce Development website, and you can see all the different trainings that are going on.
Becca, just fantastic presentation. For your first time presenting, you have set the bar very high for the next meeting. Thank you. It's a lot of wonderful information on stuff I certainly did.
Thank you.
You said earlier, people don't pay for certifications for education.
Typically,
Very true.
yes.
But interestingly, part of the big tax bill President Congress included a provision which allows people to 529 plan educational fund for certification.
For themselves as adults?
Absolutely.
Okay,
So there's a new opportunity there.
okay.
I work financially. That's a big issue. They can get certification. As those funds are now.
Is that in effect now?
Yes.
Okay, I will add that to my website because there's a little tab on my website, if you went there, that talks about, how do I pay for this? And so I will add that as an option.
Just want to add my gratitude too. It's been wonderful to have Rebecca on board and she's just hit the ground running. And this is what Jay and I, when we first started, you first said we need to do this. I said, yes. So this has been great. I mean, you've been here since April.
April 1st.
April 1st. Yes. Well, welcome. We're
Thank
so
you.
glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Since we haven't heard from Vice President Fulton enough, I'll have him come back up and give us an update on administration.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I don't want to steal any of Andy's thunder, so I'll just, address this just briefly. But, we pivoted quickly from the end of Chiefs Camp. I want to give a special thanks to the physical plant group, University Police Department, technology services didn't make the slide, but, they are contributing every day to making sure the experience for the Chiefs, our fans, our people, everything is going well. So special thanks to all of them involved. Andy, I'll let you thank your team. So I'm not going to thank all the athletic people, but all the volunteers that go into it. We've heard nothing but positive responses from the community, the chief staff. And so we're extremely grateful for the way that went. It was a, crazy month, but we got through it. And then we quickly turned around and pivoted and got ready for our students to get here, a week later. And so some of them are already here, but the turnaround to get our residence halls ready, to get campus ready for classes, to get this space put back together. There's so much that goes into it. So thank you all. Most of our people have just said, this is what we do, and they just do it. And so feel really good about another successful camp. Just a couple updates. I spoke about it in the the finance side of it, but we do have the two projects that are still going on. So Hearns and Potter construction projects are still moving forward. They've gone through the construction punch list, so the heavy work is pretty much done. But we have some other things that we are going to accomplish with the funds that are available to us. And so one of them, for example, is repairing the theater. There's just things that need to be done. So we're gonna accomplish a lot more work here over the next couple of months. But our hope is to have most of both these things wrapped up here over the next 2 to 3 months and go into winter break where these are behind us. And so, I think the launch of the library has gone extremely well. Social media, students, all great feedback there. I have not heard yet in Potter, but I'm assuming all is going great with the first few days of classes. But we're excited to have these projects moving forward. And again, what we have outstanding right now is just a couple of repairs and then expanding some technology needs in the various classrooms and labs. And so more to go, but we're getting there. On financial aid, just to kind of give you a little bit different topic here. We've had 3,824 FAFSAs compared to 3,884 a year ago. So pretty comparable. Part of this gap, though, is in early August, the Department of Education was having some technical issues where we weren't really receiving the FAFSAs in a timely manner. It normally takes 2 to 3 days. And it was taking anywhere from 9 to 10, 12 days. And so that, had an impact on our students who were trying to get through those last few stages here in August. But our team, fought through it. They worked with everybody. The responses that we've heard from parents and students was everything went smoothly. And so we feel pretty good about even having these little hiccups here just a few weeks before class is going. Everything has gone relatively well since then. So we're excited about that. And then we quickly pivot now to getting ready for next year. So we're in the first week of classes, and financial aid is already getting ready for the FAFSA that comes out for fall of 26. And so they'll be conducting high school events at various high schools here in the area. I think there's about 5 or 6, if I remember the calendar right, already scheduled for September and October. And so they will go and visit with those parents and families and students directly in the high school, help them get through that process, get them ready to go through this so that they don't have to deal with it in August like what we did here just a couple of weeks ago. So we're excited for them to have our students here, and then also for them to be getting us ready for next year as well. And then I stole this information from Dan, our new Dean of Student Affairs. But I want to just talk briefly about the energy that they have had through the 7-8 days of programming that has started. And so I think he's shared this information with everybody in the past. Orientation and stuff like that. But his team has a ton of excitement right now on campus. And so I don't remember this last fall, but I could be blocking it out too, because that was a long time ago. But just some of the structural things that they're doing. I mean, first and foremost is they want to set the expectations right and get everybody off to a good start. And I know that that's been a little bit of change management asked for students here at the start of the semester. They're reviewing all the processes. And so what are the things that we can continually improve upon? What are the things we can stop doing? What do we need to just do, double down and do it better? And so they've gone through that. And then they're really working with our registered student organizations and SGA to get their processes and support right. And so they've gone through a lot of work and change themselves and figure out what is their role on campus. And so really getting everybody aligned to how they can integrate with our student affairs staff. And so we're really excited about that. A lot to do going forward. But so far it's going off to a good start. And then just from a program, and the student experience so far has been just rock solid. And to my comment earlier about what can we do about enrollment, that's it, right? Give them an experience that is exciting, makes them want to be around this place. That's going to lead to higher retention rates, higher enrollment. It gives Andy Otto and his team more ammunition to just display that, tell those stories, what's going on here. And it's just working with everybody on campus. It's not just student affairs. They can't pull it off themselves. They can't assign it. It takes collaboration with everybody here. And so they've done that at rapid pace since June, July, something like that. And so it's off to a pretty great start. So I just grabbed the numbers that he had shared with me just the other day. So the ice cream social on Monday was just packed. The Union had 158 students at bingo night. 215 students and 65 vendors at Western Warmup yesterday. 113 students at Meet the Greek. So getting interested back in our Greek organizations. And so all the feedback has been from our students has been our comments about how the energy has shifted, how they feel very excited about being here. And that's exactly what we want. That's how we want to start the semester off. And so I'm excited for them. I'm happy they're all here and up to this work. And we're off to a great start of the fall 25 semester. So with that, I'll take any questions. I'll defer to my student affairs friends if there's questions about our programming.
Thank you, Daniel. We'll now hear about university advancement in the Missouri Western State University Foundation. Mr. Mark Archambault.
Thank you, governors. You have my report, so I'll just touch on a couple of things. As Daniel said earlier, it's a little early in the fiscal year to be projecting how this year will pan out. So I want to take just a moment to reflect on last fiscal year's results. The foundation's audit is nearly complete. That will now roll up into Daniel's area for the next phase. And with the books essentially closed, we can get a pretty good picture of last year. I want to stick with the theme and thank my team members that are here, Kim Weddle, Jerry Pickman, and others. The fiscal year 24 results, you may remember, were exceptionally strong, especially in cash receipts. The fiscal year 24 results were at least a 10-year record. Gets a little hazy when you go back beyond 10 years, but we really managed to do quite well in cash receipts and in productivity. Nevertheless, in fiscal year 25, we did manage to exceed the previous year's 10-year record-setting performance in cash receipts, hitting $3.74 million. Meanwhile, new productivity such as future pledges attracted in FY25 grew to 3.8 million. We saw some other really positive signs out of fiscal year 25. We saw a nearly 10% increase in Western League for Excellence receipts. Those are unrestricted receipts. We grew to about 149,000. That represents a multi-year peak. We still have about $25,000 more to go to get back to our all-time peak, but we really think we have some strategies that will propel us there. And then a final trend that I think is indicative of some positivity in terms of long-term sustainability in fundraising. While the number of gifts that we received in the $4,900 or less category and 10,000 or greater categories were essentially flat, we saw a 30% increase in the number of gifts between the $5,000 to $10,000 category. That's pretty exciting for us because that shows we're not just growing with the annual gifts in the bottom end of the pyramid with Western League for Excellence. We're not just growing with some of the larger capital gifts. We're actually growing right in the heart of the pipeline. So we'll try to double down in the year to come to build on that. One of our emphases for this year is planned giving, such as through one's estate plans. Those continue to hold the potential for really transformational gifts to the university. We're ramping up our efforts in those areas, led by the efforts of Kim and Jerry. Kim oversees especially the marketing component of our planned giving efforts. The May issue of Golden Opportunities, which is our planned giving newsletter, was sent to a targeted list of about 1,200 individual prospects and enjoyed an open rate of 63%. We'll be actively following up on those leads. Since my report was submitted to the governors, we've actually received an additional planned gift. We received a verbal commitment from a member of a MoWest affiliated volunteer organization who expressed their desire to establish a new revocable deferred gift commitment of from $200,000 to $250,000. The donor has shared that their gift was motivated by their steadily growing confidence in the leadership of President Kennedy and her cabinet, especially AD Andy Carter. When received, around half of the new gift will double the size of an existing athletic scholarship, while the remainder, potentially up to $200,000, will be contributed to the university as unrestricted funding. As you can see, this represents a visionary, truly philanthropic supporter for the university. And because this individual is a well-engaged, longtime donor with the university, I'm taking the rare step of saying, while we haven't inked this one, we will ink this one within the next 2 weeks. This is someone we've worked with quite a bit. Just want to share briefly that through a partnership with the Provost's office, the foundation is supporting a faculty fellowship this academic year for Professor Adrienne Johnson of our Department of Education. Her fellowship role will entail planning and implementing a new competitive internal mini-grant program aimed at engaging fellow faculty in the work of creating and delivering youth programs at Inspire U. There are a number of benefits to this program that will cascade out of it. The first is part of our agreement with Inspire U that secured branding inside that facility for Missouri Western at a much reduced price compared to what other donors were asked to contribute was our commitment to deliver some programming. At the same time, it's also going to allow us to build our brand in the community among parents, families, and youth, but also potentially plant seeds that one day could lead to future enrollments. Additionally, these projects that the faculty create will create applied learning experiences for students in the community, and it will also, because it will be competitive, allow our faculty to polish their grant-seeking skills that might generate additional extramural resources. So we're excited about this project moving forward and Adrienne's support of us. I think she's sort of adopted us like a puppy. She's now helping act as a liaison for us in lots of other capacities with the faculty. And I do want to take just a moment. You heard Daniel talk a little bit about collaborations, and I think you'll hear it from almost all of the cabinet members. We've enjoyed so much work not just this partnership with academic affairs, but we're talking with the Department of Communications about potentially having interns to help us increase our social media bandwidth. We're talking with student affairs about how we can get our alumni into the classroom to mentor our students and encourage them forward. And we're partnering, as Rebecca said, with workforce development. In all of these quarters, we're finding a lot of good traction. Just a quick reminder that homecoming is coming up. Homecoming activities for students and others will take place throughout the week. The big day is Saturday, October 4th with a 6 p.m. game. I won't steal too much of Andy's thunder. The homecoming parade will be different this year, so it'll be on campus again, but it'll be at 3:30 p.m., not in the morning, so watch for announcements. It will run from the front of the campus around to the tailgate area counterclockwise, and we're supplementing the traditional tailgate experiences with an array of activities for kids and families called the Fall Festival. We'll have about 40 entries in the parade. It actually goes up a little bit each day. It's probably closer to 45 by now. We've got 5 or 6 bands in there as well. We'll be giving away candy, but general counsel not throwing it. Strict instructions to the parade goers. We've also attracted $11,000 in sponsorships from the community to help us put on the parade, tailgate and festival. So I want to thank our parade presenting sponsor, Mosaic Life Care, parade premier sponsors, Gertzema Wealth Advisors, Tiemann, Spencer, and Hicks. Thank you, Governor Tiemann. We also thank tailgating presenting sponsors Hilliard, and thank you, Bill, and your colleagues there, and premier sponsors Altec, Pinnacle Electric, and Shelter Insurance, Matt Judah. And we're grateful for the sponsorship and technical support of Moss Marketing of KC. They'll be the official social media partner of the homecoming exercises and made a significant contribution. They're also going to be helping our team shoot videos to push out on social media. We even got 2 anonymous gifts from donors to support the parade. So trying to fire it up a little bit. So be sure to spread the word out there. Finally, you heard Andy Carter talk earlier about the importance that we place on each of you as leaders being members of the Gold Coat Club. We also want to call your attention. There's other ways you can illustrate your leadership philanthropically. The Day of Giving is coming up on December 2nd. We would love to see each of you make at least a participation gift that day. If you dread the thought you might forget December 2nd, you can actually talk ahead of time with Kim Weddle, who will help you figure out how to schedule a gift ahead of time that will count for that. The other thing is we certainly ask all Board of Governors members to lead from the top as Western League members at the $1,000 or governor's level. This year, we expect 100% participation from the Foundation Board, the Alumni Board, the new Craig School of Business Executive Advisory Council, the upcoming College of Science and Health Advancement Council, the Ambassadors and Arts Society's leadership groups, the President's senior leadership. And when we go to publish at the end of the year, I sure don't want the Board of Governors to have a miss and have it be the only one where we don't have 100%. So again, if you have any questions about how to renew, establish, or upgrade your membership, please talk to me or Kim. That's the conclusion of my report, but I'd be delighted to answer any questions. They're all afraid I'm going to ask him for more money.
We know you're not bashful. Thanks, Mark. Now we will hear enrollment management and marketing, Dr. Andy Otto.
Thank you all. It's been a fast 4 months. So I'm excited to get up here and talk through some numbers with you today. We started class on Monday. And I know coming in, some of the first conversations that I had with Daniel as we came in was, the projected number that we were looking at in terms of first year enrollment was 400 students. And so due to some great work from them in that February timeframe through, and then great work by my staff over the summer, we were able to turn that into 499 students at the start of class on Monday. And so a huge turnaround and shift in what we were able to do. With that, we also brought in 201 transfers which was 9.1% over prior year last year. So excited about that, especially as we look out to next year. And we'll talk a little bit about fall 26 and kind of what we're looking to do. But it's great momentum for us as we move forward. We talk about that 599 and the 201. The other thing to consider is that we've been working on students this entire week through add drop. A lot of places, once you hit that first day, you kind of shift and you go to the next year. My staff has been diligent and continued to work students through this. And so we've seen 24 commits in the last 2 weeks alone in terms of students that we've tried to get through. And so there were 5, well, it's 7 as of today, just this week after the start of class. And so we're continuing to push students through because we know that there are going to be students that drop at this point. Well, if we can offset that with late adds, we want to make sure that we're doing that. Along those lines, we also had just at 100 students in the graduate program start. And so you saw the press release that went out. We had about 800 students start here on Monday, which was an awesome thing. And to note, Daniel mentioned it earlier, to be relatively flat in total enrollment across the board. We're talking degree seeking, early college academy, non-degree seeking students. That's a win for us right now. And so really excited about the momentum we have as we go forward. One of the things that we mentioned in kind of our statement and release in terms of what we're proud of with this class. We talk the talk when we say we're going to serve the region. Well, we were able to walk the walk this year in terms of the students that we were able to obtain from our service region and then locally. A couple notes, we had a 4.8% increase in incoming freshmen from the region, which is an exciting thing. 8.1% increase in new transfers from the region as well. And then for Buchanan County, we had 10.2% increase in freshmen with no college credit. And so that's a big number for us as we look at, future revenue state in terms of students and how many credits they have to obtain. We obviously want students that come in with college credit because then their chance to persist is higher. But there are students that maybe didn't have access to early college academy or those pieces. And so if we start to see that number jump, that's a boon for us in terms of just the student, what we're able to do in terms of service to the students. So excited about that. You're seeing growth in enrollment in applied majors that meet workforce needs. A couple to note, we saw growth in nursing, construction, engineering, technology, social work, conservation. But then we saw continued enrollment in education, criminal justice, and then the health sciences. So we talk about pre-med, we talk about exercise science. All of those programs have really seen an uptick in the last year, but also the last couple of years we've continued with some of those. I know Daniel mentioned that they've kind of flipped and they're going, financial aid is going into fall 26. Well, the same thing is true for enrollment. When we look at that, I would like to say that we get a break and we get a breather, but that doesn't happen. We're looking at high school visits as early as next week, college fairs as early as next week. And so it is a cycle that never ends in our world. We look at visits. We have 85 college fairs scheduled already that we will be attending this fall, not the year, that's this fall. And then 100+ high school visits that are in the system right now. I know my staff has more that aren't in the system. And so we're going to be in front of students at 185 events right now. And that's just what's scheduled. And so we are very active and we're going to hit the ground running. As we look out to fall 2026, we've changed some of the things that we're doing in terms of our practices, opened up our application a little bit earlier, admitted students earlier, and are allowing them to make the decision to come to Missouri Western a little bit earlier. Okay. And so just some numbers to kind of give you a heads up on where we're tracking. As of 8/26, our inquiries were up 39.32%. And part of that is from our student search, how we're targeting students that are maybe sophomores, juniors, before they get to their senior year and starting to nurture those students with communication. Our applications are up 60%. As of 8/26. And so really encouraging for us when we talk about that funnel, if we can build that out, that 60% number is really huge for us. And then acceptance and commitments, we had not begun that at this time last year. Acceptances didn't start till tomorrow. for the year. Right now we have 177 students that we have been accepted and admitted to the institution. And then commitments, we're accepting commitments right now. And so we've already got a large chunk of students that have said, hey, I want to come. And so part of that, part of our process now is making sure that those students are engaged, that they're not just sitting there waiting for that next next year to roll around. And so working through that, encouraging signs already in the KC Metro with early commitments. That's kind of been an area that we've not been able to quite tap. But we're already seeing that right now, that is our most popular or most targeted commitment area. And so that's a really encouraging sign for us as we look out. Again, we've mentioned that we are committed to the region. We're committed to St. Joseph, and nothing says that more than the event that we had and the signing that we had on Friday of last week with the St. Joseph School District and the direct admit program. Overwhelmingly positive response in the community, which was an awesome thing to see. As an open access institution, yes, students have an opportunity to be admitted to us, but the thing that we're looking to do is break down those bottlenecks for students. It can be very overwhelming when students go in to complete an application that is 3 or 4 pages long, or 3 or 4 clicks long now. And so we have really shortened that application, and we're creating some really intentional events for those students as well, to make sure that they know that we're an option and that we're here to support them through that process. We've already seen, it was announced on Friday. We had 11 committed, or not, I say committed, we had 11 opt-ins into that program by Monday. And so that's a really good turnaround for us because they haven't really pumped it out yet to their student population. That was just from the press release. And so really excited about that. As I mentioned, we've got all our fairs and visits coming up, but we have a full team right now that is going through that. Last year, they had a full team, but I don't know how engaged they were. Anecdotally, that's all I know. But we have a full team, and we have a motivated and passionate team, a team that wants to help students. And so that's what I'm really encouraged about as we go into next year with this admissions team. On the marketing side, I'm really excited to announce that we have a director of strategic communications that's going to oversee our marketing department. I want to thank Tama and Kent for their leadership in that area during, really this last year, to be able to jump in and provide support and leadership is not easy. And so it's an awesome thing to, I want to make sure that we recognize them, and that I'm sure that they will still be key components in what we do. So excited about that. In marketing, the biggest thing that we're doing right now is a relaunch of our Google ads. I know I've mentioned this prior in terms of, where we were at. Previously, we had kind of 2 ad groups that we were targeting: people that specifically searched for Missouri Western, and then people that had maybe been on our website. We took it from 2 to 25 different ad groups in the last month. So with that, you're looking at key areas of study, affordability, student life for both the traditional and then our non-traditional students are the different ad groups that we've looked at. And along that, we have responsive ads that are happening on Google. And so it's going to pull the different search terms and make adjustments to those ads as it goes along. So you're going to start to probably see that if you get on our website quite a bit, and that'll start to pop up. We took our keywords from 31. I brought that up one of my first time. Take a guess how many keywords we have now that we're targeting.
50.
Multiply that times 100. So 5,900 plus. So we went from 31 to 5,900. And so, I think there's just a lot that we're doing. We're looking at custom UTM codes to track where people are coming from, and talk about conversion rates. So,
If you're searching for a new car.
right.
then Missouri.
Yes. That's it. That's it. In just a week, they launched on 8/21. And in just a week, we saw 14,000 impressions, almost 2,000 clicks, and then a click-through rate of 13.95%. To give you kind of an idea and reference, our emails, click-through rate, a good click-through rate for us is 5 to 7%. And so we're seeing 13.95% on people that are just doing search. they're coming through. And so exciting metrics right now, and really just looking to build out tracking across all sources, so that we can really hone in on the ROI as we go through our different partnerships and what we're doing. So as we go into, as we finish this class, that's kind of my next project, is to say, okay, where was our money spent? And what can I attribute to a student coming, and be able to provide that as we go into next board report. Give a little bit more in depth on where our students coming are from, and where the dollars were spent. So, and with that, I open the floor to questions.
On your website right now, probably being tracked.
That you are absolutely being tracked. Yes.
Quick question though, you mentioned to me that you signed a specific person to recruit high schoolers in Kansas County.
Mhm.
Do you have a specific person assigned to the high schools in North Kansas City and then the rural areas around St. Joe?
Yeah. So in prior years, what they had done is they wanted every rep to have a piece of the pie in Buchanan County. And so you could, each rep had like a high school. What that did though is it pulled them away from maybe where their primary recruiting area would have been, aside from just that one high school. So when we talk about territories, what we tried to do is we wanted to make sure that students, or that our reps had a piece of the pie in the service region, not necessarily Buchanan County. And so we divvied up the service region among our reps. And then with that, depending on the amount of schools, the population, the apps, we looked at historical data to see where our applications were coming from, and tried to even it out as best we could, so that our reps weren't necessarily overburdened. Because you look at a county like Jackson, how many high schools are in that county compared to you go up to Andrew, or some other rural county. And so we took that into account. And so Buchanan County has their specific rep. Jackson County has a specific rep. That doesn't mean that's the only place that they're recruiting though. Blake Blockmiller is handling our Buchanan County. He's also going over the state line to recruit 2 counties that are adjacent. Our Jackson County rep is dipping down into Cass because there's some schools right on that county line, and it makes sense for travel, but that person is also going in with Johnson County. And so we looked at kind of the disbursement of applications, where our students came from, tried to make it as even as possible. And then we looked at kind of what that travel would look like. Just so that you all know, we're being very intentional with our travel. I-44, that cuts from St. Louis to Springfield, is going to kind of be our travel barrier, if you will. We're not that we don't appreciate students from that area, but in terms of making travel and what that return looks like, that's a real tough haul to travel 8 hours to maybe get one student, maybe, or to see a student on a visit. And so very intentional with what we're doing, and used a lot of data to come up with those territories. And I'm happy to provide that. I can provide that.
Thank you, Dr. Otto.
Sure.
For second Andy with good news, be on athletics, our athletic director, Mr. Andy Carter.
Good afternoon again, governors. So you just listened to me for quite a bit during lunch, and I shared a lot of information. So I'm not going to repeat a lot of that. I do want to touch on a few things. Also, there's stuff in the board effect as well. Couple of things that I think are exciting to talk about. Number one, we are celebrating the 50th year of women's sports at Missouri Western this year. And we've had a standing committee meeting throughout the year, getting ready. It's kind of an all year celebration. And at the same time, you'll see a logo for that. You'll see a logo celebrating Charlie Burry. I think I brought that to you last time. Those things are out. Their patches out now, and they'll be on uniforms throughout the year. It's an all year celebration, but really heavy focus around homecoming. And we already have a lot of our former female athletes that are planning on coming back. So that'll be really exciting time to celebrate that. Secondly, I would like to also thank my staff publicly for the work they do during Chiefs Camp. It's a heavy lift, really starting late April, May in preparation, and then for 3.5, 4 weeks, it's their first part of their day job, starting at 5:30 in the morning, and then moving on to the rest of their job in the afternoon. And One thing we know is when you deal with crowds of people, things don't always go well, or at least as planned. And they've just shown a real ability to make things happen. And that's everybody from Teresa Grossbach, Ashley Wicker, Mike Halloran, Caitlin Martinez. And then our teams, our softball team and our soccer team, led up by their head coaches, Jake Plucker and Nicole Thompson, doing parking and trash pickup, and in general, just being available if we have crisis. So they just do a fantastic job. And I don't want to speak too much about how good we do it, because people might continue to make us do it forever. But it's an interesting dynamic to our summer, because it means that, we're winding down spring sports and people are running out for vacation because they can't be gone during July and August. Would also mention to you, just kind of a follow-up to our previous conversation. We've spent the last 12 to 13 months working on an athletic strategic plan, and we're getting toward the process of presenting it in front of you all for comment and review. And we'll get there as the university begins to unleash their strategic plan, and it'll be released in tandem with that. Same with our strategic master facilities plan, that we're really focusing in on just a number of specific things. And the one I'll mention in this public forum is replacement of the baseball turf infield, which it's probably 2 years beyond its life expectancy, and we need to replace it. And so we'll be coming back at a future board meeting in probably November to talk about how we're going to do that. And then not the last thing, but a really important thing, is a little bit about our athletic bands. Really excited about the work that Adrian Lowry, our new director of athletic bands, is doing. Their numbers are up. I'm not going to say what they are, because they change. They seem to change up daily, but almost double the numbers that we had last year already. He didn't start here till June, and we've taken a lot of pressure off of him by saying we need energy. We need visibility. We don't have to spend a lot of time marching right away. We'll get there, but we need visibility and energy, and they're going to bring that in spades. I've seen them. I know Garrett's playing with them, and it's just really fun. I was in my office and I hear something that sounded kind of like a rock concert going on the concourse at football, and they're out there practicing, and they had a nice little crowd watching, so it was awesome. So just bringing a new vision to how to develop the program. The recruiting is going to be a little different, and mainly because the students that we're going after, we'll take anybody, but the students that we're going after, it's going to be more like a coach recruits a player rather than the way maybe it's been done in the past. A little more one-on-one attention, visits, in-home visits, campus visits. And Adrian has just done a fantastic job. So I'm excited about what that's going to look like. You're going to see him pop up at volleyball and at soccer and some other venues with smaller groups of the band, giving some energy and supporting the students. So just wanted to mention that. I would also remind you that December 4th, 5th, and 6th, we'll be hosting all 7 state championship football games for the Missouri High School Athletic Association. That's going to put a lot of people on campus over a 3-day period, and we're excited about getting that done as well. And I would just say, lastly, we're ready for a great year. Football opens up at Sioux Falls against Augustana on Saturday. Cross country opens up on September the 5th in Nebraska. Women's soccer opens next Friday right here in Spratt Stadium against Bemidji State. And volleyball opens up September 6th at Pittsburgh State in a tournament. And so it's here, and it's going to move really, really quick with lots of events. There's a couple of weekends in November when we hit the crossover into basketball that are going to be maybe 12 to 15 events in 2 or 3 days here, either at the Civic or here. But that's what we look forward to. So I'll leave it at that and offer, if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
We'll now hear from our Chief Officer for Strategic Initiatives, Ms. Tama Wagner.
I think I'd like Daniel to do my presentation too. And I've been staring at this. Why is there a giant bottle of hand sanitizer? Who said that? You did? You almost drank it. Thank you. With my time today, I've been asked to provide an update on the strategic plan. For reference, the university updates its strategic plan every 5 years. So this document is for 2026 through 2030. You've been provided a copy of the draft plan on board effect. Please review that document at your convenience and provide any suggested revisions in the next few weeks. We'll seek a board sign off for the document in November, but for today's presentation, I'll cover the highlights. The first thing I'd like to do is to talk about the process we used to develop this plan. You'll recall that last summer we surveyed a number of groups, alumni, donors, faculty, staff, and external community members, including referring high school counselors, which provided very useful information on how we were perceived in the community and in the region and what changes we needed to make. We then used market and trend data, examining historical data and projected outcomes for our 10-county service area. We studied trends in population, income, poverty status, educational enrollment, educational attainment, top occupations. We also reviewed our grand challenges using the All Things Missouri database, which is an assessment of a region on key data points such as workforce participation, economic opportunity, economic mobility, and access to education. We then read higher education research from the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce, the Lumina Foundation, and Georgetown University. 2 Georgetown research papers were especially helpful in this process: The Great Misalignment and The Future of Good Jobs through 2031. Now, when I say we, I don't mean the royal we. I mean the Strategic Planning Committee. And as other people have done in this presentation, if you participated in the strategic planning effort and were on the committee, would you please stand? And if we could recognize those people for 1 minute. For strategy development, we engage faculty, staff, and administration in this process. As I said, we spent a lot of time analyzing the data to better understand our audiences and building direction that makes sense for the university. The 7 planning meetings were filled with lively, fervent, and thoughtful discussion. I walked away with the understanding that these folks are dedicated to the success of this university. So here's where we landed. Our recommendation from the Strategic Committee is to focus on being a premier regional public university. Let's talk about what that means. Regional public universities are considered the workhorses of higher education because we provide broad access to an affordable education. We help drive local economic growth by supporting workforce development. One of my favorite quotes in the plan is, "For the everyday American, regional public universities are where access and affordability meet, allowing students to pursue high-quality education that leads to economic and job security." Almost all public regional universities have a service area designation. Regional public universities educate more than 5 million students, representing 47% of all students seeking a bachelor's degree at a 4-year public. About 76% of our students are from our 10-county service area. So how do you go about building a premier regional university? The committee thought by focusing on these priorities, we'll begin to achieve that goal. Everything in this plan will roll up to these priorities. Everything we do as a university will roll up to these priorities. They're simple, straightforward, and concise. So I jokingly call this area, but it's not really a joke, it's really the truth. This is the area where we get them, we keep them, and we make them or inspire them to be happy that they're here. This means we'll have laser focus on optimizing recruitment, retention, and degree completion. By implementing programs that Dr. Otto had discussed, like Direct Admit, and enhancing our early college education academy to provide a clear path. By developing and maintaining academic programs that equip students to lead and innovate in the regional economy and beyond, and by enhancing the Mo West brand to improve perception and inspire students to feel great about attending Mo West. During the implementation phase of this plan, Drs. Johnson and Dr. Otto will have responsibility for this priority. As you've heard today, they're already doing these things. They've taken a great leap forward by focusing on the 10-county service area and moving beyond that. The way the implementation plan will work is that each person on the cabinet will be responsible for a priority area and will report back to the cabinet and to the Board of Governors to make refinements in the plan. The second priority is people, processes in place. If there's anything wonky in this plan or wonkish in this plan, it's the processes piece. So one of the clearest messages from the committee was you can't have a quality student experience without having a quality faculty and staff. We're going to cultivate a culture of excellence by investing and supporting in our faculty and staff. For this project, Daniel and Sarah Freemeyer are already working on an updated people plan. The second part of the priority is documenting and improving processes. Now that may sound a little bit dry, but the committee believes by optimizing and memorializing institutional processes will remove variability and our quality, communication, and overall performance will improve. Thirdly, we need to pay attention to our buildings and grounds. We'll revitalize the master facilities plan. And when I say we, I mean Daniel will do that with his teams of folks. And we're already working on that, of course. The condition of our campus and subtle cues that do affect our brand, and we'll continue to search for funding opportunities like those that allowed us to do the updates at the library and Potter Hall. And then you've heard this word multiple times today, but collaboration is one of the priorities for the strategic plan. And this is an example of a great collaboration with Mosaic Life Care, the Nursing Scholars of Promise with Mosaic. We call this section, "No one is coming to save us. We need to get some more friends and we need to do it ourselves." We'll execute the role of being a public regional university by aligning academic programs and student experiences with regional workforce needs. We'll search for innovative ways to diversify our revenue sources, and we'll continue to build partnerships that make sense for our region. This area, Mark Archambault will clearly play a role in, as will Andy Carter. And as we heard today, Andy has all of the fun things in his area. This is where we'll need your help as the Board of Governors. We want to build a regional advocacy coalition to champion and elevate support for our university. And there's Bill demonstrating how to do that.
It's like he's got a halo.
It's Saint Bill.
That's right.
I didn't do that, but we could call this the St. Bill section. We learned last legislative session that we need more support. We need more organized and more intentional advocacy. We currently participate in the legislative partnership through the Community Alliance, and through it have a contract lobbyist in Jefferson City full-time. In addition, Dr. Kennedy, Jerry Pickman, and I spent a fair share of time at the Capitol building, but we need to do more. We need to be more direct, more strategic. We need all of you, especially the 4 recent appointments, to help lawmakers understand the value of Mo West. It's not only advocacy at the state level, it's also at the national level, it's also at the local level. And this may be a surprise to Jerry, so I'll just tell you all as I'm telling Jerry. Jerry and I will pull together a plan and we'll seek your input and be ready to implement by the 2026 session. And of course, I'm being facetious. Jerry already knows this. So we did set a big audacious goal to improve educational attainment in our region. We felt it was important because according to the research that we read, specifically the Georgetown research, by 2030, 66% of all good jobs will require a bachelor's degree or an industry-related certificate. This is our big audacious goal because currently in our primary market, we're slated to lose about 500 bachelor's degree residents by 2030. Most counties in the service area are relatively flat. The shining star is Clay County, projected to gain about 745 residents with bachelor's degrees. We need to focus on this goal to ensure that our region is competitive in this space. So this is the timeline for the strategic plan and the beginning of implementation. This plan is our roadmap for the next 5 years. As I said, we're focused on the student experience. That means recruitment, retention, and pride. We're focused on faculty staff experience and improving the condition of our beautiful campus. We're fixified, we're fixified. I just invented a new word. Okay, now I'm just not going to talk at all. Diversifying revenue sources, and our big audacious goal is to improve educational attainment in the region. Without anything changing, by 2030, Buchanan County is expected to lose another 540 high school students and will continue to lose residents with bachelor's degrees. The good news is we have an entire region from which to draw from, and it would be a mistake to think there isn't market opportunity in Buchanan County because there still is market opportunity. Dr. Kennedy, help me remember, I think when we looked at the data last year, it's pretty evenly matched. About 40% of kids go to college, another 40% go into the workforce, the other 20% military. We don't know where they're doing that sort of thing. So there is opportunity in Buchanan County to create more bachelor's degree candidates. But in Clay County, they're expected to increase about 700 high school students by 2030. So it's clearly an area that we need to be targeting. Clay, Jackson, and Platte County are also projected to see an increase in residents with bachelor's degrees. So in closing, to be the school of choice for our growth areas in our region, we're returning to our roots and working to live up to the mission of being a premier regional public university. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, or Daniel would answer any questions.
But once this is all in place, who's in charge of it?
So it will roll up to the cabinet. And so each of the cabinet members will be in charge of one of these areas of priorities because they already are. So with students, it's Dr. Otto, it's Jay, with processes and people and buildings, it's Lucky Daniel. With collaborations, it's really all of us, but it really falls more into what Mark Archambault does, what Andy Carter does, and of course what Dr. Kennedy does. And she would be kind of the holder of all that. So the way I envision it working, Andy and Jay will go back, they'll take a look at this once approved and say, okay, if you look at the document that was on Board Effect, each of these priority areas has a dashboard. And we recommended, okay, these are the things that we'd like to see affected by this. We did not specify the tactics to get to those measurements because they're the experts. We want them to have that opportunity. So the things that Dr. Otto was talking about, I've never worked in enrollment management. They had to define what melt meant to me. And I still don't like that word. It's like moist. So melt, I don't like that word, but I don't have to say it. So each of those areas will be like that.
So that was my thought in reading it, was lots of great bullet points. I mean, maybe 100 great bullet. But in order to actually implement, you kind of got to pull the highest priorities out of it. You have to have a way of measuring them, have to have a way of going back and reassessing.
Absolutely.
And especially over 5 years, it's pretty easy to fall off. I thought it was a great plan. I thought it was well written. I had a little concern about how it's actually operational.
So there were some nuggets in some of the conversations that was had. So like when Dr. Otto said first day he arrived, he said to Daniel, how many students do we need? Which is actually a question I asked a year ago, but because I have no experience in enrollment management, I was like, okay, well, we'll find someone who can actually do that because it's not going to be me. And so that was a nugget in that. And so that would be a measurement that Andy would say, okay, to Daniel, this is what we need.
Some of the things are very measurable,
Mhm.
like that conversation that he had earlier. It was excellent. See, but other things are less measurable. So those are the ones that present the operational challenge.
Sure. Little things like with focusing on faculty and staff, we need to start surveying faculty and staff to determine their level of engagement, their satisfaction, and that's one way we can measure that. I do want to just reiterate that we really are going to need your all help next legislative session. I think one thing that Daniel made very clear is, we have about 4 ways we can raise revenue. Students, which we're very, very focused on in this plan. Other sources of revenue through collaborations, that sort of thing. And legislative appropriations. This year, we went to the legislature requesting a $4 million appropriation to kind of bring us up to the level so we can keep pace with our costs. And it was in the budget until the 11th hour, and then things changed, and then it didn't happen. And so that's something that we're really going to need your help with, because you all have those relationships, and we need to take advantage of those relationships to help us get to a better level.
Just a point of clarification, 4 million was not in the budget. It was part of the conversations. So let's be clear on that. We need to get it in the budget to us.
Yes.
And
I'm
and
sorry.
that's gonna, but that's, to me, that is the least likely to solve a problem. Don't want to be a smart ass. I'm just saying. Every other university in the state of Missouri has wonderfully fervent loyalists who are down there lobbying all the time. It's really hard for me to foresee that we're going to convince them that they should increase our chunk of the pie relative to everybody else.
Well,
I think you got to do it. I'm not saying you can't.
Uh-huh.
It's a maintenance thing. But to think you're going to jump by 5% or 10% at that
well,
seems
it
to me to be
happened in the
difficult.
past though. Missouri State got 10 million. And I think we just saw Mizzou get 50 million plus an extra 10 for a deal. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, because that is how it works at the State House. So that's why we're looking for your help with this, because it can happen. And we've had $4 million in the budget before COVID hit, before Governor Parsons said, you have any outside deals and you get extra money, I will cut you out of the budget. So it's been on the table before, Governor, and I think we can do it again. And that really is what needs to happen. That really is what needs to happen.
Really needs to happen.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
I think
it's
we're
a
working on
pie.
that too.
I know,
So,
I see that. I understand. You count on the other. It's gonna be tough.
but I think, as you said, though, I think we have to try.
I
Yeah.
think you do.
In reading the plan, I think the metrics are solid. I would challenge you to set actual. Have measurable. For example. $5 million. Is progress. When you set that goal, as you measure your progress, you can adjust. If you're doing something really well, or you're not getting there.
Mhm.
That's, all of those metrics are good. I would say.
And that's what the next phase will be. So when the experts then take this plan and we say, these are the areas we want to focus. Here are the things we want you to measure. They would set those goals. So, because they're going to be the ones implementing those action plans and implementing those tactics to actually accomplish. Yeah. I'm going to sound, please don't listen to me. I'm going to sound a little silly for a minute. I think what I would like to see is, I don't know, it's not like fairy dust, but I would really like to see, like the parking lots here today, I'd like to see them so full that you really struggle to find a place to park. I'd like to see more students from Buchanan County coming here. We do get a great lion's share. We do, but there's opportunity there, especially for, a bunch of kids that may not think they have an opportunity, but programs like Direct Admit that Dr. Otto is implementing, that will open doors for a lot of people. So I want more students, a lot of students, capacity students to come here and to recognize what a great university this is. Yeah, yeah. We do know. So that's what I was talking about. We looked at it last year. We haven't looked at it for this 2025, but in 2024, about 40% of kids go to college. We get about half of those. And that's probably good. There are just a certain, so we're not going to get, yeah, it's a good market share. However, in that 40% that aren't going to college or don't really have a path, I think those are the kids that will benefit from Direct Admit, that will benefit from the higher focus that Dr. Otto is going to place in those schools. So I think there's a lot more opportunity that we're leaving on the table in Buchanan County. But I honestly think the true opportunity is in the Northland. When we did the focus groups with counselors in the Northland, they said to us, we just don't know who you are. We don't know anything about you. And when we look at the dashboards and we look at the numbers, there's so much opportunity there that we're not taking advantage of. With Dr. Otto and his recruiters being more aggressive in those areas, we'll begin to build that. I feel like that every day though, so.
I have my house. So, well, there's nothing in writing. So Mark Arsenal and I had a good conversation with a prominent agriculture family in the community about an ag tech degree. You have to realize it's not just we can offer anything you want, right? Because it has to go to the state. The state is very concerned about duplication. And then you also have to look at what would it cost to start a program like that, right? So there's a lot of different factors in there. And I think, to Tama's point, yes, we absolutely want to grow employment. When we issue our parking passes, I want them to be hunting licenses, right? I want it to be so crowded here that that's what we're looking at. And I think even in Buchanan County, I would argue half of the 40% that are going are not enough in the school district. We could probably get more. We, in the last 2 days, have had nearly over 200, I'm looking for somebody from ECA, over 200 students from Buchanan or from Benton, Lafayette, and Central who are going to be in our dual credit. We brought them here to show them campus and ask them, how many have been here? Hey, look around. Hey, guess what? We have a Starbucks, right? Hey, all of these great things, because I don't think we have done the recruiting jobs that we've needed to do locally in our region, 5 county, 10 county. So I think there's some of that we can grab. And then it will become a matter of when do we have enough, we're saturated the market here. When do we start going down to Southern Missouri, down in the Boot Hills, right? When do we start going after that? And in the meantime, it's also looking at our adult population. Lee and I were talking about this. The average age of our student now is 22. It used to be 19, right? We know that about 23% of this community, this region, has some college, but not a degree. And when I'm out talking to business leaders in the chamber, what am I talking about is, it's not that we need jobs here, but we need good jobs. And what are the good jobs going to require? So how do we partner with workforce? That's why Rebecca Labina is here to go into those and to say, what kind of training and education can we supply? So it's really just like all of the pieces are starting to fit together so that we can move forward in a very positive way. I just want to reiterate something Daniel said, and of course he's not here, but we have, you know, for a long time, people were, oh, the mass exodus of all these employees. We have more employees now because people want to be here. We have the right people and the people are staying. This is important. People are seeing the value of what's happening here and where we're going. And that's why we're having these wonderful things happening. You know, the direct admit program, I started talking to the school district when Dr. Edgar was the superintendent. I saw other universities doing this and I'm like, why can't we do this? And we had to push a few things, a little on the school district side, a little on our side, because this is before Andy was here, but we got it done. And within 48 hours, 72 hours, we already had students that were interested in that. So it's getting the right people and being able to push those levers and say, how do we make this happen?
And do it with the Liberty schools and Platte City
Yes.
schools and the other Northland schools. So that people just have a direct line with our units.
Well, how do you sell something if nobody knows what your problem?
And if you remember what Daniel said about the dormitories, again, that's where we need to be. Anything else? Okay, thanks a bunch. Oh, sorry. Nope.
Thank you, Tim.
Oh.
For the rest of the board, I'd say September 25th, date that we're giving you to kind of mark your calendar, that the board has until then to review and submit your feedback to Dr. Kennedy and Tama.
You know,
about the strategic.
we will have a special website, or not a website, I'm sorry, an email account so that you can shoot it right into there. And we'll get that out to you as soon as we get it fixed. So yeah, please don't inundate our messages with comments, but we'll set that up because we'll also be using it for faculty and staff and some students. Just one location.
And the discussion today was fantastic. That's what we're looking for. And you have the opportunity about the next month. We'll give deadlines to then see if we keep that. If that's the deadline we're starting with on that. Next up is our student governor, Garrett Jackson.
Our report will be fairly short. One of the things I'd really like to emphasize is the Sleep in Heavenly Peace bed build. That's going to be really exciting at the Unionl Center on September 13th. This is a great way to serve the community, so I encourage all the students and faculty and even board members to show up and see the operation. It's a really neat operation, how they build the beds. And of course, I believe there's 200 kids that are read on the waiting list in our community, and that's the lowest it's been in a while. And so with this, we have the opportunity to build 50 beds on this day. So I encourage you, as many of you, to sign up or just to come by and see it. That'll be a great opportunity. I plan on attending. I am part of the athletics band, and that's really exciting to me. I want to riff off that. I'm really excited to be a part of that, but just to see the energy that will bring to the athletics events, it'll be a great way to support our athletes and just the students as a whole, to bring energy to the campus and to games and to the outer community. So I encourage any of you, I think they're still wanting people to join. So if you can play an instrument, I think Adrian would still love to have you. Finally, the student governor application is live. So you know any students or you are a student interested applying to be the student governor, please come talk to me or board members and cabinet. That's a great opportunity to serve the union or university. So that application is live and we can talk about it then. Thank you.
I just want to know what instrument you play.
Electric bass.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Traditional march.
Carry it along beside you, right?
Right.
Amplifier.
It'd be great in a pep band though, right?
I love it.
Thank you, Garrett. And I know you're a student governor is getting closer to the end there. But I do want to publicly thank you and acknowledge the great work that you have done. You have contributed a lot to our meetings. You have brought a thoughtful insight. You communicate and connect with a wide variety of students, and sometimes it's probably you're wishing you could turn that off, but you have done a fantastic job with that. And been valuable or invaluable in that regard. We have a long history of student governors being exemplary, and you have added to that list. Very much appreciate what you've done for this university. Thank you.
But you still have one meeting.
We'll now hear from our president, Dr. Kennedy.
Well, thank you to your team and Vice Chair Grimwood and Governors. First of all, did you notice the new Griffin logo on the screen? That's awesome, right? Looks great. And then as you're looking at the wall, the beautiful pictures that are up. So I'm sitting here, Lee and Bill, and we see all of you just staring right at us the whole time. So it's very nice. Well, I tell you, my report this afternoon has an unabashedly congratulatory focus. Based on the many wonderful projects and accomplishments and initiatives we've heard about this afternoon, which I'll speak to more in a moment. But first and foremost, I want to very publicly acknowledge our fall 2025 semester first day enrollment numbers, which reveal a continuing trend for MoWest of moving in the right direction, or more specifically, of this fall's enrollment numbers being flat as compared to last fall's numbers. Now you might ask, why celebrate having a flat enrollment? Because this is the first fall-to-fall comparison since 2018 to 2019, 7 in a row if you're counting, and yes, I am, where enrollment hasn't had a steep decline. In fact, this is the first start of any semester, fall or spring, since my arrival in January of 2020, where enrollment hasn't dipped by a large amount. Well, let's keep this in perspective, shall we? Remember, the last fall-to-fall increase in enrollment was from 2017 to 2018, where the increase was a modest 133 students. But the decline from fall 2011 to fall 2015 was 729 students. And just from fall 2018 to 2019, the decline was 271 students. And that was pre-pandemic and pre-program elimination. Also note that since fall 2011, the university has had only 4 fall-to-fall enrollment increases. Not good enrollment trends over a decade at Missouri Western State University. No matter how you slice or dice those numbers, historically at Missouri Western, enrollment had been declining over several years, nearly a decade. But yes, there is positive news. While last year's fall-to-fall decline from 23 to 24 was 89 students, this year, our day one enrollment numbers for fall 2025 were down by 2. 2, yes, 2 students. Yes. Now, some of my cabinet members have suggested that perhaps Jay and I could sign up for a class real quick and get it to perfect. Don't let my joke diminish this achievement, because yes, there's still going to be some variability in census. We all know that, there always is. However, this is a huge success for our university that has been through so much. And I want every member of our campus community to feel proud of the work we have done to achieve this. We are reaping the dividends of your efforts, your dedication, your belief in our mission and our work. It is the accumulation of the contributions of each and every one of you. It's all coming together. So let me congratulate every member of our campus community on a job well done. Thank you. Now, let's continue with some more celebratory reporting based again on the wonderful projects, accomplishments, and initiatives we've heard about. From my perspective, our work represents the fruition of one of the most critical strategic themes which were part of my 2023 goals which I provided to the board in April of 23. And that strategy has been, first and foremost, to assemble the best team. Now, this hasn't been an easy task, nor has it been a linear process, but there is success to celebrate. For example, academic affairs under the leadership of Dr. Jay Johnson, who has been with us all of 7 months, 8 months. But Jay has worked, as you've heard, to secure multiple articulation agreements, improve our early college academy process, has streamlined the curriculum review process with Faculty Senate to ensure our academic programs remain relevant and attract students, and has been working with the excellent team across the Division of Academic Affairs to improve the processes, enhance student learning and student success. From finance and administration under the leadership of Daniel Holt, who is celebrating his 1 year and 8 months. Yep, with us, as we've heard today, and has provided yet again numerous insightful analyses related to budget, finances, strategic planning for our workforce and compensation plan, as well as for our facilities and IT tech services, and has built and sometimes rebuilt a solid team throughout a wide variety of units. And I have to add, has taken on oversight of student affairs. Now, when I first asked Daniel if he could do this, he actually talked himself into assuming the responsibility. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, something to the effect of, well, I hadn't had any experience in my in student affairs before, but then I realized that in my career, I hadn't had experience with a lot of areas that until I was supervising them. So heck, why not? Right? So Daniel, I just want to say, I so value the heck, why not about you, but most importantly, I so appreciate the impact you're having here. From advancements in the Missouri Western State University Foundation under the leadership of Mark Archambault, who is celebrating 3 years and 6 months. Wow, almost a senior, right? Yes. As we've heard today, his efforts to continue to transform both areas to truly elevate this university to a level never witnessed before. The team that Mark has crafted, from our veterans who are key to the newest team additions. Mark and his team have been moving the needle steadily forward in so many arenas: scholarships, donations, alumni relationships, gifts, board development, and of course in our event planning and execution, right? And when I say to Mark, more money, please, he says, okay. When I say to Mark, can you help? He says, yes. And when I say to Mark, can you and yours do this? He just smiles and nods. That's great, right? And from athletics under AD Andy Carter, who is celebrating 3 years and with us, give or take, and yet again today describes his work, which has essentially been to reconstruct athletics, and thus has achieved so many accolades, academic and athletic, for our students and our coaches, in a conference, I might add, which is considered the most competitive and most successful among all D2 conferences, and has assembled 100% new coaching staff and brought in a new administrative staff to complement the veteran administrators that you have. And it is through his leadership and the work of his entire team that these successes have been possible. Hey, did we not see the most support from Mo West Athletics at the GSI podcast luncheon at the Hi-Ho this Monday? You were there? It was packed. That Hi-Ho was packed, and it was great. Really appreciated that. From General Counsel, Kelly Douglas, who is celebrating 4 years and 8 months with us. She is definitely the veteran of the team, right? And her work literally touches all units and permeates nearly every level of activity on our campus. I think of her efforts as our tiller. Her guidance steers us in the right direction. And that kind of navigation in today's higher education environment is invaluable. Now, most of you probably don't know this, but we did 3 separate searches looking for a general counsel because I didn't like who we were getting, and the people on the search committees were bumping with me. But I will tell you, when I met Kelly, I knew she was the right fit, the right person to lead this so important function for Missouri Western State University, and I am very, very grateful for her presence. From within my office, Chief Assistant for Strategic Initiatives, Tama Wagner, who is celebrating her 1 year and 4 months anniversary. What an asset. What an asset to the work of the president's office. Before Andy got here, leading our market research and brand development efforts, moving our strategic plan forward, helping on so many fronts. And that doesn't take into account our work with key stakeholders, community leaders, our elected officials at the local, regional, state, and federal levels, K-12 officials, and many, many more, which has been and continues to be truly invaluable. I cannot state more emphatically what a key asset to the workings of the office Tama has been. And I have not had this effective, dare I say, genuine support of my work as president since I entered this role. If I walked away from the president's office without including another invaluable member whose work touches so many, Betsy Wright, who serves as board secretary to this body, as well as providing administrative assistant in the president's office with great resourcefulness, professionalism, courage, and grace, and yes, courage and grace. Thank you. And finally, to our newest addition to the cabinet from enrollment management and marketing under the leadership of Vice President Andy Otto, who is celebrating 4.5 months with us-ish. 4 and 5 days, but who's counting, right? But he's literally, we've heard this, he's hit the ground running at the end of the fall. He came at the very end of the fall 2025 recruiting cycle and he took hold of the reins. He worked to restaff, to gear up. Thank you to all of those folks. And Blake, we have to give Blake a shout out, and to the entire team. And he's been working with our Marcom staff who have done an awesome job that has given us even greater impact in a variety of media outlets. Did I mention that our first day enrollment numbers were flat and we were only down 2 students? Did I say that? Because I want you to know that. That is so huge. Keep in mind, perspective is everything. When I entered this role in August of 2020, I had essentially 3 cabinet members, 2 of whom were wearing not one vice president's hats, but 2. It wasn't that the bench wasn't deep. There wasn't any bench, right? And we veterans, so to speak, we know the history. We know that as a university, we've survived a lot. And while my report is focused on cabinet level folks, I referenced all of their teams, everyone, because I want everyone at Missouri Western State University to know that you're seen, your efforts are appreciated, and without you, there is no success. If I spoke about each and every one of you and what you routinely do to contribute to our success, we'd need sleeping bags to settle in here and spend the day. So, to all of us, please remember, no matter who is throwing rocks at us, the media, social media, sticks and stones, am I right? But no matter what, we are seeing positive results, positive impact, all of which are propelling the university forward with clear direction and sure purpose. We are on a strong trajectory towards attainment of our ultimate goal to be recognized as a premier regional university. I want to thank you all for everything you do for Missouri Western State University. This is going to be a great year to be a Griffin. I'm proud. I'm proud to be president of this university. I'm proud to be part of this Griffin community.
Questions for a president? Feisty president today? That's good. That's good. All right. Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. Next will be the report of the chair. I have a few things, some housekeeping, some updates on a few things, a little bit of recognition there. I just love the crowd here today. Very much appreciate that. This is all of our university. Love seeing the faculty senate president here. Have had multiple conversations with Monty Smith about how we can work together on our shared governance roles, and very much appreciate his willingness to lead and represent the faculty and things we can do together with that. So very much enjoyed those conversations and look forward to those continuing. The excitement is palpable here. I mean, today and around campus, and it's wonderful. Had the pleasure of being at the president's kickoff breakfast a week ago, and about 500 faculty, staff there, and just the energy was just wonderful to be able to be just a small part of that. Then follow that up with the campus barbecue. Just see the energy on campus, and the tree planting for the student group that won the orientation contest or whatever. Go Navy, right?
Yes,
Go Navy. Beat Army, I guess. There, but just those things, when that energy comes back onto campus, it puts things back in perspective of why all of us do what we do. It's about those students and what we can do to be helpful and transformative with them. So I appreciate all of this board when you're visible and out there and representing the black and gold and all the wonderful things that you all do. I appreciate you and appreciate everybody in the audience as well for that role. I would like request, because we have a campus tour coming up here in the near future. And so you reach out to me or to Betsy of things that you'd like to see as part of that, or what you said, okay, I know this well enough. I really don't need to go back through there. You know, I mean, some of the things, how do you ask what you want to see if you don't know what you're going to see? So just engage in that conversation. We're clearly going to have the library renovation, Potter Hall, things we've talked about, things you can go and see, the nursing simulator. Every time I'm in there, I just feel dumber because of all the fantastic things that are in there, and that I'm glad we are educating those people who take care of us, because it's really, really impressive on that. I am appointing 2 ad hoc committees to look into things. Some of the stuff we've talked about today. One for a regional advocacy committee, kind of tying in with what Tama was mentioning with the strategic plan, but for members of our board to have the opportunity to take leadership and direction with that, of how can we individually, collectively, and through connections be advocates and find some resources and opportunities that haven't been sufficiently tapped thus far. So putting that committee together, and we'll go from there. The other committee that I'm putting together as an ad hoc is a leadership evaluation committee, just to put a more formal process on review of leadership and on the board, of how we set and articulate our goals and our objectives, and how we can all work together to meet those expectations and help each other in a leadership role with them. The final thing I have is I am going to, you bragged about our general counsel, so I'm going to task her to a job to work on. There's been discussions of how some of why we have looked at a lot of bylaws and policies and procedures, some that are outdated, and how we make sure things are consistent and work together with that. But I do want her to look at our program addition, subtraction elements to that. We already have that within academic. We went through that through program elimination. There is a detailed structure that goes through ultimately with the Board of Governors on the academic side of whether we add programs, track programs. We have that in athletics as it relates to adding programs with that, and just want to make our policies consistent with that, so we're all on the same page with that. So I'm just asking our general counsel to just kind of update some policies to make things consistent in that regard. That is the extent of my report. Is there any old business that needs to be taken up? Do have a couple items of old business. The first item is to approve the proposed amendment to the Board of Governors bylaws, Article 6 or 4. Put it in Roman numerals for me. Article 4, the committees and consultants. This was first discussed with the board on April 24th, 2025, and subsequently discussed again with the board on June 26th of this year, at which time the board also received a draft of the proposed amended section. Now that the 30-day period for review has passed for the board to potentially amend its bylaws. This ties into our finance committee meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the amendment for committees and consultants of the board's bylaws as presented at the June 26, 2025 board meeting? I have a second. Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Okay. Those opposed say nay. Okay, the motion carries. The second item of old business we have is the alcohol on university grounds and at university-sponsored events policy that was presented to the board for review and consideration at the June 26th board meeting. On August 12, board members voted by poll vote and unanimously approved adoption of the policy. Do I have a motion to ratify the results of the poll vote taken on August 12, 2025 to approve and adopt the alcohol on university grounds and at university-sponsored events policy? I have a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Is there any new business? The next board meeting will be on Thursday, November 6th, 2025 at 1:30 in Blum Student Union, room 220. Any other comments or questions for the public session? Any board members? There being none, a vote will now be held to close the meeting pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610.021, sections 1, 2, 3, 13, and 24. Do I have a motion to close the meeting? A second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of closing the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries, and we will go into closed session. We'll take a short break now and come back in 10 minutes. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it, everybody.